Welcome back to the Oakland Athletics franchise. This is a monthly recap. Here we are going over the month of June and pretty much a little bit of what happened before that as well, as this is something we used to do in the Yankees franchise where we'd go over transactions, promotions, demotions, players' stats, and just all stuff that happened in the previous month that would be interesting to know about. And we are going to be picking this back up now that we were heading into July and we just finished June, as you can see on the screen. And the Oakland Athletics are currently sitting at 48-32 on the season, which is first place in the AL West. So this Oakland team is definitely performing quite well, and they are 6-4 in their last 10. And Seattle, they're only 2 games back out of first place, but as of right now, this Athletics team is in a slot to win this American League West. As far as some of the players' stats go, Younger Solarte is still first in the American League in batting average. Behind him is Ketel Marte and Mike Trout. Trout was in first place, but I guess he's gone through a slump and he's dropped himself down to third, but he's still hitting I think 330, which isn't exactly bad, but it's not first in the American League like Solarte is, who's hitting 346 with a 346, 406, 525 slash line. That is a 931 OPS. He's got 9 bombs, 45 RBI as well. Moving on to Billy Burns, who does not exactly have the best average or OBP. It's a 272 average with a 320 OBP, which is, it's okay. He's got 3 home runs and 20 RBI, which is, okay. He's a leadoff guy. I mean, you don't really expect too many home runs and RBI out of him. He's got 14 swipe bags, though, and 43 runs, and 6 triples, which leads the American League in triples. Gerard Dyson, who is our platoon right fielder, mainly plays against right-handed pitching, since he is a solid left-handed bat and can't really hit against lefties. He's hitting 313 with a 382 OBP, so he's getting his job done. He is getting on base, he is swiping bags, he is doing what he should be doing, and he's got an 812 OPS despite hitting no home runs, and he's currently third in the American League in stolen bases with 25. Sean Doolittle, moving on to the pitching side of things. Sean Doolittle has 24 saves, and he has a 3.68 ERA as well, which is quite high for a reliever. You definitely want to see that go down. So he's not exactly having the best season, but he's reaping the benefits of playing for a team like the A's, where he's constantly in save situations, and he's picking those up, and he has 24 saves, which is 5th in the American League. While Sonny Gray is dominating. Right now, he is 6-1 with a 1.78 ERA and a 1.01 WHIP. That is the best ERA in the American League. Sonny Gray is absolutely dominating right now, and he is proving that he is definitely the ace. He is definitely worth the contract that we gave him in the offseason. The A's also have a couple injuries throughout the organization, the first one being John Danks, the left-handed pitcher who is signed in the offseason to be the 5th starter. Went down with a fractured wrist. He's out for 1 to 2 months still, and that could be a blessing in disguise that he went down, because he wasn't exactly pitching the greatest. He definitely settled down from earlier on in the season where he started off 0-5, and now he's actually has a winning record or something like that. But it did allow J.R. Newman to keep his spot in the rotation, and he is definitely reaping the benefits of that spot being able to be in the rotation in the big leagues. While Ramon Benitez is definitely an injury that's going to cost us, as he was in TripleA. He started off pretty slow in the season, but he was picking things up. He was on fire. He was hitting. He was doing all you wanted, and I was actually thinking about, and the A's were actually thinking about calling him up to be the starting catcher, and since Mark Canha is struggling so terribly in left field, they were going to move the versatile Stephen Vogt to left field since he can play there, and then have Benitez be the catcher. But Benitez now has a broken arm. He's out for 1 to 2 months, so that option is no longer an option. As far as the rotation and lineups go, the rotation 1 to 5 right now is Gray, Alvarez, Newman, Lincecum, and Hahn. Of course, those overalls are a bit mixed around. As 1 to 5, it's because people have gotten injured, people have had to take spots, so it's kind of just where, people, it's just a rotation, obviously. It's not like how it would be on opening day, where obviously Gray is still number 1, but it'd probably be Gray, Hahn, Alvarez, Newman, and then Lincecum, and not what it is right now if it was set in stone 1 to 5. The bullpen, however, is Graveman, Hendricks, Dubront, Gutierrez, Madsen, Zapchinski, and Doolittle. And then the lineups versus right-handed pitchers, it's center field Billy Burns, second base Jose Miguel Fernandez, third base Younger Solarte, DH Chris Davis, first base Matt Olson, catching is Stephen Vogt, left field Canha, shortstop Lowry, right field Dyson, and then against left-handed pitching, it's center fielder Billy Burns leading things off still, first base with an absurd contact Danny Valencia against left-handed pitching, third base is Solarte, left field Davis, second base Fernandez. I've actually thought about swapping around Valencia and Fernandez there, since Valencia has a bit more power than Fernandez, and he'd be a lot better being that fifth hole to drive runs in than he would be in that second role, where Fernandez could definitely reap the benefits. Even though he has a left-handed bat, he can still hit against left-handed pitching. Then it's catcher Stephen Vogt, DH Matt Olson, shortstop Lowry, and then Pagan plays right field against left-handers instead of Dyson, who plays against right-handers. And as I'm sure you've noticed, Dubront and Gutierrez were in the bullpen, and they were definitely not names that were there on opening day, as they were having great seasons down in TripleA, so I figured, hey, let's call these guys up and replace the two guys who were struggling mightily in the big leagues, and that was Fernando Rodriguez and Carlos Villanueva. Fernando Rodriguez is the second best relief pitcher in the entire organization, yet he just could not get the job done in the major leagues. So he's sent down to AAA. He's currently on fire. He's 1-0 with a 2.81 ERA in 16 innings pitched in AAA, so he could make his way back up. Gutierrez is definitely going to be the guy to go down if someone goes down, because he's struggling while Dubront is still pitching quite well. Villanueva also has quite a good opportunity to come back up. He was struggling in the big leagues, sent him down to AAA to work on his craft. He's now 2-0 with a .68 ERA in 26 and a third innings pitched, as he's just dominating down there. And if anybody's going to get called up out of those two, it'll probably be Villanueva. Maybe for Rodriguez, it's really just a toss-up deciding how the Athletics feel at that point when they decide if Gutierrez wants to go. If Gutierrez needs to go down, it's kind of just who's performing better at that point when they want to call somebody up. Staying in AAA, Billy Butler, as you saw in a previous episode, was DFA'd, and he was actually optioned to AAA instead of just being released because nobody picked him up on the waivers. So Billy Butler is now just rotting away on the bench in AAA. Usually, Billy Butler would definitely be playing in AAA if that happened in real life, because AAA is more so a place for kind of like veterans and guys who are trying to really work on their craft because they're not quite ready for the MLB, but they're definitely way too good to be in AA. That's generally what AAA is, but in this game, you don't really have the multiple minor league systems to put people in, so you can't just have all your good like young prospects in AA, while AAA is just covered with veterans. So I kind of just have Billy Butler on the bench, just kind of being a pinch hitter down there, because it is the final year of his contract. He's not going to be brought back, that's obvious, so he's just down there rotting away on the AAA bench. And since we are heading into July, that means two things. One, the All-Star Game is coming up, and two, the trade deadline is at the end of the month. So, one person the Athletics are thinking about trading is Jed Lowry, because he is in the final year of his contract. He's not going to be brought back, because next year the Athletics plan on having Franklin Barreto as the everyday shortstop. You saw the prospect profile about him. So Barreto is going to be the everyday shortstop next year, at least that's what the plan is, and Lowry and Gonzalez are both in the final year of their contracts, while Gonzalez was only on a one-year deal. He's probably not going to be brought back, considering Barreto's going to be the starter, but Lowry is definitely not going to be brought back, because he's going to want some decent kind of cash, and rather than just letting him walk, the Athletics want to try to get some value out of him, so possibly trade him for a reliever so we don't have bullpen issues down the line like the Athletics did have last season in 2016. That really cost us that playoff spot where we were one game out of that wild card. So Alex Torres is an 81 overall relief pitcher from Atlanta who is currently on the trade deadline, so that could be a matchup, that could be a trade possibility that could happen. Lowry and maybe like a prospect for Alex Torres, not a star prospect obviously, but maybe like a C potential middle infielder or something like that. So with that being said, that's going to wrap things up here for this edition of the Athletics franchise. This has been the June recap heading into July, as I've been your host Jersey Born, and I'm saying goodbye.
It's no mystery and no surprise. The wildest times, this friend of mine could never stop. His only crime was blowing minds, which never helped to change the sides of people's minds. He left them up and showed them to the sky. Can you feel the sun?